Sometimes you have to remember yourself in the middle of all the madness that wanders around you. All you can really do is make decisions based off of what you are, what you believe, and a little bit about how you feel. But as a general rule, no one else cares how you feel. Keep that in mind. What are the humans doing?
Do you think you're ready? Can you handle the truth? Or are you in denial and demanding more proof? They demonstrate in real time how they're spinning you lies, but no one pays attention, no one opens their eyes. They walk around like zombies with their head in the mobiles, signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile. Yeah. Signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile. So if you think you're ready, you don't need more proof. Conspiracy deniers are denying the truth. They fabricate our problems and pretend to provide the best solution, but we all know they lie. They lied about the weapons and they lied about health. They lied about the fact that they're transferring the wealth. You should really notice how they're pushing the fear. Keep everybody terrified and not thinking clear. Yeah. Everybody's not thinking clear. Keep everybody terrified. Yeah, thinking and not thinking. Keep everybody terrified and not thinking clear. When you do, you realize that this is a trick. It's getting really stupid now, they're taking the mick. Said, do you think you're ready? Can you handle the truth? Or are you in denial and demanding more proof? They demonstrate in real time how they're spinning you lies, but no one pays attention, no one opens their eyes. They walk around like zombies with their head in the mobiles, signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile. Yeah. Signaling their pick on their profile. Hey.
Oh, Sasquatch? Oh, yeah, he's like the Sandy Waxler of YouTube's.
Next time he'll get his own ketchup.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sasquatch Shills for Sasquatch Shills, so you don't have to. Why won't it let me turn that off whenever I'm in there? That is crazy. All right, we're going to leave it at that. I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to bring the man with the master plan up. What is up, my brother?
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Actually, your channel was requested, and for the world of me, I can't find the email that they sent. I don't know if it was. Well, I don't want to start spitting out names and being wrong, you know.
Mandatory carry date.
Oh yeah, that would be the one. Yes, sir. I guarantee. Yeah, yeah. I'll be amazed if he doesn't show up just to troll me, because you know. All right. So I'm going to bring you up on big screen. Give everybody the big who-do about what you do.
So Tacos and Jihad, we're on Rumble, exclusively on Rumble, because YouTube just won't have us. We won't survive there. We're an anti-communist show. We talk about current events. We have two separate shows right now under the same kind of umbrella on Rumble, but we do current events and news. We give commentary. The other show is just we go through leftist, not leftist, but just memes from the day, current event memes. The internet always provides, and it's Clarissa and I just go through memes and videos and just kind of make fun of it, because ridicule has a lot of power, and the left has ridiculed everybody else for years, and that's where they've gotten. That's how they've gotten where they've gotten, how they've gotten the power that they have. And we feel that we just try to give them a dose of their own medicine the best we can.
Fantastic. Am I causing an echo? No. I think no, that's in my phone. My bad. Welcome to Sasquatch Shills, where the technical issues are part of the show. All right, so we're going to start this up over here behind you. It's going to play muted for a little while, and when you're talking anti-communist, do you consider general socialism or that is that communism light by chance?
Yeah, socialism is kind of the bridge to communism. It's the way they sell it to get everybody to buy into it, at least in my opinion.
Right. Oh, dude, this is about your content. It's your opinion that actually matters. So I'm not going to be interjecting myself into what your content is supposed to be. Without you explaining it, no one would know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it, and I'm not even joking. Dead serious. I've interviewed Bigfoot hunters, actual goblins, I repeat this, actual goblins, and the weirdest one, and I've interviewed a goblin, but the weirdest one was a Native American Black Hebrew Israelite.
I watched that one.
That was difficult.
I watched it. It seemed like there were some moments there where there was some frustration, maybe.
Yeah, no, he came in with opinions, and I don't have a problem with opinions, and that seemed to be a problem with him. So,
yeah,
you know, we got some folks in here. Although I'm a bit curious about some stuff. Okay, yeah. All right, I got other links popping in too. All right, that's cool. We're going to roll back through chat, see who got here first. Let's see. There's currently an argument going down between the Smoking Auditor and the Grim Reaper the Grim Reaper Network about who got here first. But on my little thing here, it says it's the Smoking Auditor. So the Smoking Auditor gets the gold. Grim Reaper Radio, damn it, he changed his name. The Grim Reaper Network gets the silver, and Mama Gnome gets the bronze. Welcome in. Now we do have one participation trophy floating around, and it usually goes to the person with the trolliest name, which so far is Dangerous Witch. We'll see how that pans out over the length of the show. This feels wrong. I feel far too big. Let me fix that. I don't like that. I feel like I'm dominating the whole thing here. Yeah, there we go. Now we can be the same size. Okay, so socialism's communism light. It's the palatable tincture they give you the bad medicine with to try to shove it down, right?
Right, absolutely.
So the issue I've always had with the concept of basically anything that's not a part of the American experiment is that there is no protections for your individual human rights.
Mm-hmm.
They say there is, but the very second they get the power to take them, they do. In every case in history, always.
Yeah, it's the and they'll always say that real communism has never been tried, and the reason for that is because it's humanly impossible. You take into matters about distribution of resources and things like they never take into the fact that the state has to distribute the resources. So there's always going to be a state. There's always going to be a totalitarian, like a authoritarian, if you want to call it that, apparatus of the state that is disseminating the resources, the rations, everything else to the people. And when whoever that may be, whoever is the leader of that, realizes, because it's human nature to want to rule when you have the ability to. I can't remember who said it, but power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. They all become they become gods, so to speak, and they exercise their godlike power however they want, and then you end up having people, groups like the Cheka, going around and executing people wantonly for arbitrary reasons that they say are just counter-revolutionary. Well, who defines what counter-revolutionary is? It's pretty wide.
It can be. I mean, there are cases, especially when you get towards the tail end of the early part of the 19th, the 20th century, the late part of the 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
there was a huge number of flavors of fascism, socialism, communism, Bolshevism. There's the entire balkanization of that whole area created all these different flavors. Here's my dead giveaway on why communism under any flag simply will not function. Because you can't put 10 communists in a room and have them agree on anything except overthrowing the elites. That's it. That's the only thing they will agree on, war, and that is it.
And they will never, they'll say they have principles, or they will claim principles so that so that the commoner will kind of lean over towards them and try to trust them and what have you. But when push comes to shove, they'll sacrifice their principles just the same way they'll sacrifice a commoner for being counter-revolutionary for taking 5 extra potatoes for his family.
Right. They'll call that actual like sedition and stuff, and crimes against the state, which becomes crimes against humanity.
Right.
All right. So there's a question in chat over here. It's like, it's been tried many times, even in ancient history. That's not exactly a question. The only case where I can point at something that resembles a fascist, and it is not a fascist communist state, but resembles it, was Sparta.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a bald, bare meritocracy. So doesn't quite fit the mold, but they did have a lot of communal values in there. But you had to be a Spartan first for it to matter. So
yeah, there was I mean, Sparta specifically, like that whole era, that's like when we were coming out of the Dark Ages. You know what I mean? We're like the real Dark Ages, but we're finally getting a sense of how to govern states and how to govern ourselves as agglomerations of people. And there were some trials and errors involved in Sparta. They had that whole the service thing. It kind of leans into fascism a little bit, or maybe what fascism would have become, but it also is kind of like the birth of the republic kind of thing. It's the birth of being able to have multiple people instead of one god king, control everybody and dictate how everyone's going to live. There was a parliament, so to not meant to be a parliament, but whatever they would have called it. There's a group of people, a quorum of people where debate was had, albeit corrupt, but it still existed.
Right. All right. So, kind of moving up through the ages, the next time you encounter something that resembles a communist state that may have functioned for a time, I think you end up in Assyria. Would be your next swing at it. Is some of the satraps that Alexander the Great left behind. Some of them functioned on sort of communal concepts because they were basically army divisions that were just waiting patiently for the orders to move out. So it became a communal sort of system.
I will admit that my world history isn't. I mainly have focused the past 10 years of my life on kind of like contemporary.
Okay, so start with
the past 300 years kind of thing, the French Revolution on upward and everything. But I do have a love for all history. I'm just not as well versed in the thousands of years ago kind of thing, which I admit that I should be. It's the next step. Right now I've been studying a lot of the Russian Revolution lately, and it's if you ever want to know what's going on right now, just look at the Russian Revolution.
Well, they've kind of cycled a few times through. Like, one of the weirdest Russian periods to me was always that Glasnost period. Mm-hmm. Because while a whole lot of information came out from under wraps, what didn't was almost more telling, right? We got lists of people who were collected from places for reasons that were not listed. We've got mass graves in places where we know there were more people, but now there are no people. There's lots of that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really smack well for me that every time you have one of these communist revolutions, you end up with mass graves and starvation. That seems to be a direct route to how to kill off population.
I mean, you go to any of the ones in recent history, Cambodia, Russia, China, even China today. God knows what's happening over there today. Truly, I mean, North Korea, kind of an offshoot of China, but we have no idea how many people are actually imprisoned right now or have died in the past, 10 years in China. But I guarantee you, it's in the millions. Have been executed to one degree or another.
Definitely. Because I mean, you can look into the just the Maoist Cultural Revolution in China, and you'll break a few million there, I'm certain. And I mean, just unregistered deaths.
You're talking between 40 million and 100 million, and the fact that that's the gap, that the gap is 60 million people, tells you that there's something else going on here. This is just not meant for humanity. It's not something that is achievable, and if it is achievable, it is the cost in blood is just simply not worth it. It would only work in heaven, you know, with a divine entity ruling over everything.
Right. You'd have to have a perfect leader. Hence the reason why every single one of these dictatorships devolves down to leader worship.
Exactly.
It becomes a cult of personality. But I'm skipping ahead of the idea here. One of the issues, whatever type of flavor of communism you're going for, one of the issues is some of the establishing premises were developed not from the observation of human nature or the functioning of governments or the way people interact in crowds or cities or in stress or anything like that. It was through the observation of ants and bees. And this is, in my opinion, is the critical flaw with both communism and socialism. It does not take humanity into consideration.
Yeah, the entire human condition is totally eschewed for instinct, and that everyone's always going to have the issue or have the concern of their neighbor as their number one thing. But the cold hard fact of the matter is that a lot of people don't give a shit about you. They only care about how they're going to put food on their plate or how they're going to get to their next earthly desire, and eventually it all falls apart because of that, which was what I was kind of getting to earlier, and I got sidetracked by the distribution thing. But there's a part of man and humanity that doesn't exist in the animal kingdom, and it's the desire for power. It's the desire for pleasure, constant pleasure. I just watched a documentary called Painkiller on Netflix, and there's a very good point in there. It's like,
I love it. It's good.
It great. But you run from pain and you run towards pleasure. That's the cycle of humanity.
To an extent, the concept of delayed gratification isn't well understood in the junkie community, so we generally didn't really think that far into it.
Yeah.
In my case, it was broken pelvis and an awful lot of drugs, and then, oh, by the way, those things are addictive. You shouldn't take them no more.
Yeah. Broken pelvis. I had a broken
pelvis. Bud. That ship has sailed. What are we going to do about it? Oh, nothing. Just go home. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right. Just figure it out.
I did. Did that too. I figured it out, and, it led me down a rabbit hole that I cover on a recovery stream occasionally because it's painful. I can't do that every week. You know, it hurts my soul to get into that stuff. But when I say that communism is based off of the insect world, I'm dead serious. You can draw direct correlations between every step between and it's kind of hard to say the word capitalist with a straight face, although I'm a consummate capitalist. I figure the most American thing you can do is sell out. Just don't do it cheap.
Yeah.
Make sure it's worth it. That being said, that's something insects can't do. It's beyond the animal kingdom to plot nefariously for the greater good. That is absurd. That whole idea is a strictly human concept. The idea that I can hurt them so that you have a better chance of being equal to them. But it doesn't work because whether you're predisposed to violence or you're predisposed to the tendency of to like rob, steal, cheat, be corrupt in general, whether you're in a position of power or you're in a position of destitute loneliness out in the streets, you're still going to do that hustle. That's just the nature of people. Like alcoholics, 20% of the population.
Well, and you talk about bees and ants. It's like you look at a hive or an ant colony. It's every individual knows their role, knows what their job is, knows exactly what they're supposed to do. There's no thought process into it, no thinking, no deciding whether or not they want to be lazy today. They don't have that part. They don't have that part of the brain, right? Or what that part of the circuit board doesn't exist.
Yeah,
and that's why it's able to work so well. And you look at the average like commoner that wants communism, they look at that and they don't think past. There's no second order of thinking. There's no thought about like, well, it's like they think that ants and bees have like an inner monologue. You know what I mean? Like where they actually decide they want to go to work today. And that doesn't exist. That's not a thing that happens. It's instinct. You know, it's eat, sleep, reproduce.
Do you hear one about where they developed they figured out how to synthesize the chemical created by an ant when they die?
No.
And then they took an ant and dripped some of it on him and put him back in the nest. And he spent the rest of his living days being carried to the graveyard and dumped in.
I did not hear about that.
Like they would throw him in, he would climb out, climb back up to the top, and go into the nest. And as soon as he got in the nest, the very first worker he come across would give him a sniff, grab him, pick him up, and they would wrestle him all the way back to the dump ground.
Well, yeah, and that backs up that point is because they smell that, you know, if you want to call it a pheromone or a chemical, they smell that.
It's
they
directly
smell it on the newly deceased, and they immediately go into that mode. There's no thought about it. There's no conversation or debate. It's just, this guy's dead. We got to get him out of here, you know?
Yeah, no, Dangerous Witch says the commies don't have an inner monologue themselves. And this is where the left can't meme, for one thing.
God, they cannot meme.
The reason is, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. There is a distinct discognitive dissociation. I think I might have said that wrong. Hold on. Try that again. A distinct cognitive dissociation between laughing at something and making someone else laugh at something.
Right.
First of all, laughter is an involuntary response. You don't actually have control over it. If someone does something that you truly think is funny, I don't care if you're at a funeral or at a wedding, you are going to laugh. And if it's funny enough, you will belly laugh. And that goes for the judge, the jury, and the executioner. So when you have these like late night hosts trying to get together and put together a show that's supposed to be funny, and each one of them has 70 writers, and it's still,
they're just delivery guys. They're writers, you know?
It's because since and I'm using the left as a very broad brush here.
Yeah.
It just has to do with a central tenet of concept. Once you go to the left side of that liberal spectrum, a little bit further than fence sitter, there's this idea that to laugh at something is to belittle it. And if you're belittling it, you're not respecting it. And if you're not and that's not funny, right? So you shouldn't laugh at that. And so there's this deconstruction of humor inside them. And so they immediately tamp it down the second they feel that involuntary emotional response that wasn't brought to them by their handlers. They immediately try to tamp it down. But if you're funny enough, they can't do it. And that ruins them. They cannot laugh at themselves, because if they laugh at themselves, they see the cognitive dissonance. They realize they're absolutely stark raving batshit crazy, and then they can't say it with a straight face anymore.
That is a perfect point. There's no self-deprecating ability on the broad left, you know. And I know you said the left is a broad thing, and it is a broad thing because now the Overton window has shifted so far that basically everything's left and everything not left is far right. And
I've been thinking on that.
But their memes are their walls of text, you know.
1 second. You said the Overton window shifted. I'm not 100% certain that's accurate, because I think what actually happened is they included the world instead of just the United States. For 50 years, it was a U.S. thing. People in U.S. news, you would hear about the Overton window and how it had moved a little bit. And then in the last 5 years, it went from being a largely nation-based concept to a global concept. And suddenly the Overton window shifted light speed to the left. Well, we're the most conservative country on the planet, and most conservatives do not vote.
I think that's changing though, but I think it's too late. I don't think it matters anymore. Honestly, that's my black pill assessment, which I don't try to have too often, because I mean, what's the alternative, you know? But I do think there's and once I got in this whole podcast game, this whole watching other people's podcasts and interacting with everything and stuff, which was really the beginning of COVID, is when I started doing it. But there's such
I hear that a whole lot.
Yeah, so many people have got activated, I think. And that's what the left is so good at. Like the communists are so good at organizing, and like we totally lacked that ability. And now that you have these different groups, if you call them Group A, B, C, it doesn't, whatever, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, whatever. It's
Right.
they're getting out there and doing the same outreach that once was laughed at, that was ridiculed on the right. Because why would you do that? It's go to work, feed your family. You don't need to be out in the streets doing this. What kind of father goes to rallies and protests and meets other people instead of feeding his kids and spending time with his kids? Well, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have that family structure unless you do that. And that's really gotten to a lot of people, I think. So there is a lot of, Trump got 75 million votes. I'm not saying Trump's the guy that's going to come save everything, but 75 million votes in a I think, it's YouTube, so I don't know if I can speak upon election stuff, but I think we all see where I'm going. And there's a lot of people out there that really care about America. And what you're saying about the Overton window being global, that's a good point. That's not a point I really thought about, but it still works into the ideology that has infected this country, because the communists have infiltrated. You got the red diaper babies and then their communist parents before them. And they have infiltrated all the institutions to instill this global perspective where it's like, you can't care about America. And if you care about America, you're a racist, you're a far right nationalist. But that works to shift. Maybe it doesn't even work to shift the Overton window. It works to widen it on one side, the left. And so everything that's like right of George Bush is now far right extremism, where everything left of Stalin.
Jeez, man, that makes my heart hurt. Oh my God, I ain't even thought about it that way, but you're not wrong. But anything that's not an above board, on the bar neocon is a fundamentalist of some sort. Like,
if you were to put the center where the center is now, Bill Clinton's on the right. And it's kind
right,
of
no. My point, I make this point often. A lot of people don't like to hear it. First of all, I don't like Donald Trump as a person. I think he's probably an asshole. He might be a good dude person to person, I don't know, but I know that when he's in public, he's a bit of an asshole. I have no reason to believe that he wouldn't be a bit more of an asshole in private, right? I mean, like, wonk. So as a person, I'm not like wanting to go out and drink beers with this man.
Mm-hmm.
But and when he was running initially, I looked at it and went, holy shit, they have a blue dog Democrat, New York billionaire Democrat over here running for the presidency, and he's going to win. And he's running as a Republican, which is absolutely absurd. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Donald Trump could not have won that campaign.
Agreed.
He would have been a moderate Democrat and would not have been well respected on the side of the Republicans. But in 2016, at that point in time, enough of the people, the plebes, if you will, what do they call them? The proletariat had developed enough social skills online to have kind of peeked under the conductor's dress to sort of see the shadows of what was going on, and they didn't like it. And 2016 was the response to not liking it. Now, what happened since then, I think, is an absolute fucking travesty. The whole concept of not questioning an election is retarded. Absolutely. On so many levels. Even if it was perfect, flawless, and there's no evidence of anything at all, the truth is a lion. It does not need to be defended. Only lies must be defended.
And you look at these indictments, I mean, like, it's, again, I agree with you. Trump is probably an asshole in person, but you don't get to be where he is in life and the money he has and the success that he's had in the business world without kind of being an asshole along the way. And a lot of people are going to try to take things from you. Anybody who has money like that, billionaires, people try to get in there and get some of that money. So he's got to kind of have a bullshit filter somewhere. And when you're on the wrong side of that bullshit filter, you get the asshole side. But yeah, it's these indictments, and you're talking about the election stuff, and you can't question an election. Like, if you get on Twitter right now and look up election, like Democrat election denial or whatever, and there's hours from the Al Gore election all the way up of them saying the election's rigged, everything's fake. Even Barack Obama's talking about Ohio, where I'm from, and how the machines that they use in Ohio could be hacked.
To this day, I'm in Georgia, and to this day, to my knowledge, Stacey Abrams has still not conceded the loss.
Right. Like she's still actively denying the fact that she lost, and she's not been indicted. No charges been brought
Not a
against her.
word.
But it's all anti Donald Trump and all this, and it's because in my personal opinion, I support basically whoever the establishment hates at this point, because they hate them for a reason. And I've often thought that Trump might be playing a role of a heel or something, but I mean he's got 700 years above his head. I mean obviously he's not going to live that long, but like he's risking everything to go against this system of the Bill Ayers system. We're looking at the Weather Underground controlling the government. That's basically where we're at.
You're right. You're exactly right. I was going to bring that up in a minute. I actually had that in line to mention that the things that are playing out right now in front of everyone on YouTube, on Rumble, mostly on Rumble, because YouTube don't play that shit.
Right.
It's almost like they use the Weather Underground as a playbook. That and Big Brother, was it 1984?
Yeah,
is how-to manual on everything.
It was not meant to be a blueprint. George Orwell did not write that so somebody would follow it and say this is the way for me to take power. He wrote it so some people, like he was a socialist himself. And
a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah, he wrote it because he understood the perils of totalitarianism, and it was kind of like a warning, like don't go down this road. And instead of you say the conservatives don't vote as much, and in the past they haven't, but that's how this has been allowed to happen, is because everybody read that and like, oh, it'll never happen, or it's not a big deal. America's so protected from this. We have the Constitution. The Constitution is a piece of Swiss cheese, if even that at this point. Like, what rights do you have?
Granted, it is not as strong as once it was, but it is the only bulwark we have is the Supreme Court upholding the Constitution.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is that assumes that Clarence Thomas isn't kicked out, because he's basically, in my opinion, he should be on the Mount the new Mount Rushmore when we win.
Right. I don't disagree with you, man. He's one of those people, and yet again, really broad brush. The left get really foaming at the mouth about. They want to try to call him black face of white supremacy, and I'm like, are you listening to yourself? Are you listening to the words coming out of your own mouth right now? All right, never mind. Okay, never mind. We can't talk to you. If you're wearing one of those things, I can't do it. You
can't have a black conservative because that undermines their entire strategy of divide and conquer, make everything a racist ploy, and since that's not working anymore, now we have all these other things with these, the rainbow squad and everything. Like they've divided everybody because race doesn't work. Class didn't work. Race is no longer working. So they had to divide everybody into 73 different things now, so that everybody's infighting. And now they can divide and conquer that way, because if you don't accept this completely unrealistic imaginary perspective of who I think I am, and you don't bend the knee to me, then you sir, you are a bigot.
Here's the absurd part of that to me. And this, I got very angry about this until I realized why it angered me. I had a lifelong friend of mine, a person that I respect, and on any other circumstance, I would have just agreed with him and moved on, and it wouldn't have even been a thing. But he came into my home, into my house, and he demanded that I use language that I had never used previously, and became uproariously upset when I didn't. When I simply said, man, that's going to take a little while for me to start calling you a him. Yeah, you can't expect that. And they got really upset. And I went, wait, hold on, brother. You can believe yourself to be anything, but until you present to me what you expect to be called as an actual fact, and not just your mythical idea of something you're going to do in the future, don't bring that trash to me. You can neither curtail nor compel my speech. First Amendment. And I can love you as much as I want to, but I do not have to let you change the way I speak about you. First of all, gender. This is not a thing that can really be discussed on YouTube. This is an almost impossible subject to have a conversation with, regardless of who you're talking to, because even conservatives can't come to freaking terms with exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
Is it a mental illness? Is it a perception? Is it my truth? Is it your truth? None of this makes any sense. And what's worse, it doesn't matter. It just muddies the waters. The fact is, when you walk into the door and I see a 6 foot tall, hairy guy with facial hair and a whole bunch of freaking hair on his back sticking out of his collar and crap, my thought is man, not zebra.
Well, I mean, I was thinking while you were talking, like, can you imagine Andre the Giant coming in your house and being like, my pronouns are
it's ma'am.
Yeah, it's ma'am. Like, I can't. What are you even talking about? Like, you get into such this realm of just like your jaw's on the floor and you're just flabbergasted that this is even a conversation anyone's trying to have. And like, I've lost a lot of friends because since I've have come out of the closet as like a far right extremist or whatever. But it's no love lost. I mean, whatever. You guys are your head's in the sand. You don't see what's happening. You don't have this. You guys are microscopically looking at a problem now that affects so few people, that if you just backed out a little bit and let it all play out the way it's supposed to, or the way that nature would allow it to.
Nope. You just made an error right there. They are the science. They cannot allow nature to take its course. If they don't step in and cause it to happen, it's not real and must be evil.
Yeah, and then you're threatening their existence by saying they're not real, and that's a whole nother conversation. But
no, it's not. It's not another. It's the same conversation, just a different subject. That's kind of how they're winning this whole debate thing, is that they can force a conversation into a linguistic corner by not respecting the classical definitions of words that we've all been using for 30, 40 years. But today it's a totally different thing.
I mean, it's not even 30, 40. It goes back hundreds to thousands, possibly, because these are universal truths that we have all accepted because there is nothing to prove them wrong. Nothing has ever come in there and been like, you can't look at this and say this is not what it is. Call it what like an ant's an ant, a spoon's a spoon. My daughter asked me why we call spoons, or she asked me why potatoes were called potatoes or something. I'm like, why do they call spoons spoons? Like, there's no answer. It's a universal truth. It just is what it is. And you can't. That's what the leftist people, the critical theory people have done, is if they can't win a battle, they zoom in so far with the microscope that they get into the atomized version of everything. You start getting into the nucleus of things, and you see electrons and protons. You can now argue. You have so many new arguments now that nobody else but you really understands, because you make it up as you go along. The more you zoom in, the more you can say this is this and that is that, but you're not looking through the microscope, so you don't have it. You can't say I'm wrong. They get so far into the weeds that there's no argument that can be made against them. And is this
your first upload?
What's that?
Does that look right to be your first upload on your channel?
So a little explanation here. Again, before
we get there, okay. Hold on. I got a thing that I do, and it's a little funny. I hope. Sometimes people laugh. Sometimes they just stare at me like I'm some kind of a strange creature that they found under a rock.
You know about cars? Yes, I'm a paleontologist. Oh, it's okay. There's dynamite in this bag too. I am a paleontologist. I'm a paleontologist. Paleontologists study really old stuff.
Like crackers.
Because bad movies are funny.
All right, so I'm a YouTube.
Look at it.
You like that?
Yeah.
All right, that came from a movie called Deary Off the Wall. You can purchase it on Amazon. It was made by a group of rather insane fellows down in Florida. There's this beautiful scene where they're doing a long road trip, and they go from the 1994 Mustang that they've rented to a stock footage cut of a 64 Mustang doing a mountain trail. And that's what they use for the road trip footage. It's brilliant. All right. First upload.
Yeah.
What band is this? Is this any of y'all, or are you just filming it?
No, I know the people in this band. The guy on the show now is my friend, one of my best friends of my entire life. I've known him for like 25 years. His name's Scott. He's a musician. We were all musicians. That was kind of our thing as teens. We all got into metal, and some of the guys there are people we've played with and known throughout the years. But it's a band called Oracle. They're not together anymore. This was a local show in Dayton, Ohio. Definitely not a thing anymore. I still think they all play music, just not together.
Not together. Okay. So you were saying about how your channels changed, or how your channel was set up.
Yeah, so my the YouTube channel, the Tacos and Jihad YouTube channel was actually like my personal channel. It was under my actual name. And I posted things like sunsets, and I posted, I ended up making like videos that were kind of could be likened like Donnie Baker, where I would take on a character, and that was like what I was doing before I got into like the podcast, before COVID hit. I was just trying to be funny for my friends or whatever. And it never really went anywhere. I uploaded like family videos and stuff, and videos like this, but then I got into the podcasting and switched the YouTube over to the Tacos and Jihad thing. And then we would never last as a show on Tacos and Jihad, or on YouTube rather, which is why we just initially started a video on Rumble. We were an audio podcast for a long time, but we made the transition to video, and we realized very quickly that we would not survive there, and my account would get banned. So I didn't want to do that because I don't want to lose my videos. So now what we do on the YouTube channel is we attempt to drive traffic to our Rumble by posting clips and such. And Clarissa, my other co-host on the 2 Minutes of Hate show that we do, which is a 1984 reference, but
Right.
she's on TikTok. I think she just got banned, actually. I won't get TikTok. Neither of us will get TikTok. Me and Scott won't get TikTok because obvious reasons, but she does it, and she'll make clips and stuff and send them to me, and I'll post them on there and try to drive traffic. But as you can see from the view numbers, a lot of our not very many people on Rumble tend to go back to YouTube. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we don't
correct.
we don't attract people who are on YouTube already with our content. So for obvious reasons.
I got a guy backstage that operates his own streaming service, and when the show's done, if he's still awake, I'm going to bring him up, and maybe we can have that whole discussion. And it would be just adding another source, I guess you'd call it, or destination. That's what it is. Anyway, what's up, 007? Welcome in, Bo. Good to see you. Yeah, now I know you UK folks, y'all be up real late sometimes. But yeah, everything seems to be running fine. I appreciate the use of your channel, buddy. He's one of the guys that's restreaming this. I've got this policy that I do, and it might help your channel given that you don't really put a lot of uploads to it.
Mm-hmm.
Previous guests on Sasquatch Shills are always welcome in After Dark, which is where we discuss all kinds of crap, but terms of service issues, copyright infringement issues, OBS, StreamYard, Restream, any kind of technical stuff, sound problems, all of that stuff. If I can't figure it out, I will hunt down somebody that knows more about it than I do or has better equipment that can help.
Awesome.
And that the whole purpose of all of this is to help good content creators make better content easier. For example, on your phone, you have a feature in YouTube called Remix. This allows you to clip pieces of other creators' content and do a reaction style video to it. These things are crazy popular. I think I added 30 subscribers in the past like 2 weeks because I've been tinkering with it, playing with it, doing different things with it. One of the things you can do with that remix button is go back to your own content and do an entire short based off of it. Oops, screwed the page on that. Right. And this allows you to take content that you have already done and utilize it in a different algorithm, because YouTube has at least 3 algorithms functioning. The shorts algorithm is one thing. It does its own thing over there, masturbating by itself. I haven't figured that one out exactly. Then you have short, medium, and long vids. Short and medium are anything over a minute but under 5 minutes. And long vids are anything like over 8 minutes, and our medium vids are over 5 minutes and under 15 minutes. Long vids are anything over 15 minutes. And then you have live streams, which is a totally different thing. It functions in the same algorithms as far as thumbnails, titles, hashtags, stuff like that. But then the actual community in live streams are totally different. Just because I've got 2,000 some odd subscribers doesn't mean I get 50 people in the chat. You get 5, because most of those people showed up on shorts and they never look at another video you made unless it pops up in the shorts feed. Some of those people came in on videos and they never look at a single live stream or a short you ever put up because they're not interested.
Right.
And then the live stream community is kind of its own thing in a nutshell. They're that's what they do. So you won't generally pick up live stream viewers from videos. You have to do the live stream aspect for it to really matter. And one of the things I've done is put together this entire Sasquatch Shills thing in a copyright-free format that any previous guest can link up and restream to their channel, hopefully about once a week if I have the guests. And you're always welcome backstage. You know, if you just want to show up and ask some particular person a single question or whatever, and you don't necessarily want to come up, that's fine. Or if you just want to show up and be like, I've got this thing and it's broken. Can somebody help me fix it? That's also cool.
Not for 2004. Please help me.
Exactly. And Grim could probably chew right through that thing. He'd love it.
I think it's super helpful because I didn't know anything about doing video stuff, video shows or anything. Like I said, we started as an audio only. It started on my phone, me on my couch by my lonesome, talking about food or travel or just whatever. And then, you know, eventually I had my political leanings and everything, and I saw what was happening with the society and everything, and it just kind of naturally evolved into what it is today. And it's now obnoxious, it's now hyperbolic, but not so hyperbolic that you lose sight of what's going on. Again, the one show that I do with my buddy Scott now, like I try to weave a narrative where it starts somewhere and eventually comes back around full circle. It's OBS is a beast.
It is an absolute monster. And I'm going to go through the list right now, just so everybody can know this. When I started my YouTube channel, I downloaded OBS, Shotcut, and StreamYard. Those three things, you can reproduce virtually any effect you see on YouTube if you can figure it out.
Yeah. If you can spend the time on it and look at these various screens, because I have StreamYard going over here and then I have my OBS going over here, and
Right.
it's like learning how to just trying to BS my way through OBS to make a show happen was a humongous feat in itself. It was like a Sisyphean complex. I just kept rolling the rock up the mountain and it kept falling and rolling me over, and I just kept trying it again. So I'm trying to not learn anything new because I don't want to mess anything up. You know what I mean?
Argument. This is a live stream that I'm letting other creators stream to their channel. I call it ghetto syndication. And Grim was nice enough to allow me to stream to his channel. He's a previous guest on the show. And so that's kind of what we're doing here, is talking to this gentleman about his channel. Grim's actually backstage sleeping right now. Every time I unmute him, all I hear is snoring. That man got a hell of a whistle. But anyway, so you've got the YouTube side of this kind of on mothballs. Is that kind of the way you're running it?
Yeah, I mean, well, I have a lot of, I take timestamps of stuff for like when we're recording, and I try to say like I want to clip this point because like, Clarissa made a great point, or Scott made a good point, or I made a good point. And then it's just, I got family and day job, and it's so hard to like get back into it and start cutting stuff up, which is helpful to have a team. We're kind of a team, and it's helpful to have other people do it, but they got families and they got day jobs.
Yeah.
So
Let me
YouTube.
tell you what I say about getting YouTubers together. I would rather herd cats. It would be easier with less injury. I'm serious.
I believe it.
As far as if you're interested in the growth of your YouTube channel in order to drive traffic elsewhere, this is probably going to be a sketchy commodity coming up. They're starting to reduce out of sight links. They're taking them off of shorts. They're fixing to start taking them. The story goes, they're going to remove all links that take you out of YouTube and try to replace it with much lower tier monetization features. That's the leak type stuff that I have heard. I don't have any actual evidence to back that up, but it does match with what I've been seeing going on in the back end, is like shows like mine where I use your actual channel name to give people the link to go to your channel. And in the future, if you ever change your channel name, the name of my show will automatically change to your new channel name. Score. If they stop that, I'm not sure how this show's going to work.
Yeah, if I may just interject about talking about YouTube versus places like Rumble, and I mean there are other free speech friendly networks or sites out there, but I mean if you're pro free speech or pro not living through what we've been living through the past decade or whatever, Rumble, I mean we post some pretty out there stuff on our show. Like we get into some conversations that would definitely they'd be up for 5 seconds on YouTube. And if you're pro free speech and stuff, like Rumble really is the place to go. And they have a monetization feature, which is not at all unfriendly to the creator. It's just you got to support the places that are supporting you. And my wife just got a tattoo today, and the guy asked where he heard about us from, and I said, well, I walked in and it said make tattoos great again. And I'm like, well, this guy probably doesn't hate me. So I'm gonna give him my money.
And if he does hate you, he won't tell you about it. He'll just do the tattoo and take your money.
Yeah, exactly. Like he'll do what his job is to do and take the money and say, have a great day.
Yep. Or not. Roll his eyes and go on about his business. I don't care if they're blind, crippled, crazy, as long as they can do the job. Exactly. I want the best person I can afford. I want the most skilled individual to do my roof that I can pay for.
Exactly.
Hey, Scotty Waddles, welcome in, bud. Good to see you. So we got about 10 minutes left on this part of the show, and after that we do an After Dark. After Dark is partly the video you see behind you, which is scary Ring doorbell footage. And if you want to stick around and do that, we can. We also discuss any technical issues, terms of service, anything like that. OBS, how to conjoin OBS and StreamYard to make your sound not sound like trash. That's another one we try to cover. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I'll stick around for a few minutes. We have the wife and I have dinner plans, but I'll stick around for a few minutes.
That's fine. In that case, I'll go ahead and pitch this part of it. So the part of the thing with the whole remix feature is that you're able to utilize your own content. And so once you've done it, you can reuse the videos that you did. So if you're clever and you think ahead, you can clip specific parts and use songs where it looks like you're mouthing the words or whatever. And you can just use the sound from a previous video, or you can do it reaction style. You can even do reaction styles to your own videos, which is, say if you said something that was odd, strange, or unusual, or you don't necessarily agree with anymore, you can go back and do a reaction. This is stuff that I don't see other people using this stuff for, right? This feature is available. We could be uploading all kinds of just whatever type of content you want, and yet people are not taking advantage of it. And YouTube's all but trying to force everyone to. So I don't know. Just consider it. If you've got somebody on TikTok, stick them on it. It'll probably be simpler for them to figure it out because they already kind of got their toe in the water.
Absolutely. Yeah. Clarissa she was the one that was going to be here with us tonight on the show, but she had other things going on and stuff.
Yeah, I had kind of hoped she'd show up, but it happens. We do what we can with what we got. And that's really where we're at.
But she's the one who does most of the clipping and TikToking and stuff and remixing. It would be beneficial for her to learn that stuff, especially for YouTube.
Yeah, I'm totally down for. I do stuff backstage a lot too. Like I've got a couple of private studios that, like on Wednesdays, I think it is. I go into a private testing studio, and almost all my previous guests have that link, and they know I'll be there most Wednesdays, most of the day. Now, there's every chance you show up and it's just a movie playing in the background and I'm not here at all. I'm all freaking gallivanting through the meadows or whatever, Yeah. I'm a Sasquatch. You can't pin me in. All right, so I got one last question for you that I meant to bring this up earlier, and it might take you a minute. Don't worry about going over time. There's no such thing.
Okay.
What's the Ramas Vivaswamy
Swami?
Is that his name?
I can't say his first name is Vivek. I don't Vivek.
Right. This guy. All right. Tell me, just without going into what he stands for, what's behind him, does he not absolutely terrify you on a poster?
I'm trying to just look at his face on a poster, and I don't know.
The mouth looks carnivorous, dude. Like, homie seriously looks like he wants to take a big juicy bite out of the cameraman every time he smiles at a camera, and it creeps me out in a weird way. My real fear, though, is he has all the correct talking points. He is right on point with every single point that you could discuss as a conservative, lightweight, or Genghis Khan, right? Like, all the way across the board, except for a couple of facts. He doesn't seem to be coming from a place of genuine desire, but desire for something else. Like, he wants to do this to get to another point. And the only way to do this is to be the front runner for the Republican campaign, which is impossible. And I don't see a Donald Trump Vivek ticket. I don't see that happening.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say is I foresee him being the VP nominee. The reason I say that is because Trump doesn't hate him. Trump actually,
you think he'll do the ticket? I don't know, man.
I mean, I think a Trump Tulsi ticket would be something to if you're just looking at like demographics and boxes you can check, you got to go for Tulsi. But I mean, and she's like she's a Democrat, but is she? You know, I mean, she's anti.
Yeah, I actually like Tulsi Gabbard. As far as Democrats go, she's the least toxic of the group that I've seen. Whenever you actually speak to this woman, she stops and thinks about what she's fixing to say. She doesn't just immediately quote some handler given talking point to the media. She cocks her head to the side and goes, well, you know, and there's obvious cognitive attempts to understand taking place. You don't see that anywhere on the other side.
The hamster is turning, you know, it's like the wheel is turning.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't vote for her as like for president just based on simple things that she's anti. She wants to control guns, and as most Democrats do. But for everything else she's about, she's a common sense human being, and that's all we can ask for anymore. But is it though? Is it all we can ask for? Because Vivek 10 years ago was a Democrat. But it is where it is now, where he just happens to seem like a far right extremist because, you know, everything right of Bill Clinton is extremism now.
Well, I'm slightly right of Genghis Khan. I think everyone should do what I say.
Exactly, right. But you talk about him having the points, all the talking points, and he does. He has them memorized. But he's a businessman, much like Trump. They kind of think along the same ideas, the same idea lines, I think. You know, I that's just me making assumptions because obviously I don't know either one of these people.
Right. Yeah.
Do it. But I think that he is. I do think he's genuine. When you look at his answers, there was a video that came out recently where one of these some person who her initial say hi, how are you? I want to ask you a question was hi, I'm pansexual, blah blah blah. So that wasn't like staged, right? You had somebody coming up with a legitimate question from way over in left field, and he gave a legitimate thought out answer. He if you look at him, you can see he's thinking while he's talking. And I think that makes that shows a little bit of that Tulsi Gabbard cocking her head thing. And I don't like he stands to gain nothing from infiltrating the Trump campaign and undermining the whole message and undermining everything he wants.
No. I have a totally different prognostication. Forgive me. I know you're mid-sentence and I apologize, but I think you misunderstand what his purpose here is. It is not. It is not to subvert or infiltrate the Trump campaign. It is merely to be close enough to the top that whenever they, Epstein Trump, he can step into a position of power. And then suddenly you have your diversity, inclusion, and equity nominee leading the country. I mean, is not that what Kamala Harris is?
Well, absolutely. She definitely did her job for doing anything, you know.
I'm not saying I don't know anything about this man's personal politics, but I do suspect him of being somewhat related to some kind of Soros money somewhere. I can't see how he could get this far into politics without having at least tripped over a couple of grand.
Yeah. I guess I didn't take that terribly or very much into consideration because like everybody else, you get swept up into this and like you kind of forget like your own principles sometimes. And you're like, well, I like this guy. This guy's talking all the right stuff and Trump doesn't hate him. So, is he fair? Fair.
That's an issue, man.
Yeah, that's true too. And I see another one talking about Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake. I don't have anything against her.
How about Carrie Lake Tulsi Gabbard ticket?
I mean, you're talking pie in the sky stuff now.
Okay, man, you want to go pie in the sky? We can get even harder core than that. Let's go. Yeah, no, that's some real pie in the sky, some blue sky signs there, ain't it?
I like Carrie Lake, and I do think, and you see all these right wing pundits like Bongino and stuff talking, well, oh, she lost to I can't the communist that she lost to, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but like she didn't campaign, she didn't do anything. It's like if you don't think that election was rigged from the jump, then you are off your rocker, because I don't think, first of all, I don't think she lost that. I do think there was a lot of things that went against that went not in her favor for fear of pissing off the YouTube people.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Supposedly all of that stuff's supposed to be above board now. You can like disagree with stuff, but I'm still kind of sketching the edge around that shit.
Yeah, it's
because I am not attempting to be great. I would like to be high yield mediocre and aggressively average. I don't want to blow up. I want to blow over a little bit. A little bit further down, because when you blow up, you suddenly get a lot of attention you don't necessarily want, and that can just break a channel. I've been very careful with all of this. I'm hoping the stuff I've learned here will go into my next channel, because I'm inevitably going to be freaking nuked. Just give it time.
I'm waiting for it too. I'm not necessarily a Rumble channel, because Rumble I don't think will do that based on history, but in my normal life,
right,
I'm just waiting to be docked and fired and all that stuff.
If you've got a couple of people working on your content, it would help to have one in particular take just not even pay attention to the Rumble terms of service. One of y'all handle the topics for Rumble or whatever, and have somebody actually look at the terms of service for YouTube and just do the YouTube shorts and short videos and clips. Because it's really hard to think dually on that stuff. Because when I was trying to do Facebook, Rumble, YouTube at the same time, I ran into the issue of having to shut them down in the right order and then do the edits and send them to the right places. And that is a headache a single man should not have to deal with, because one mistake from a Rumble channel to a YouTube channel and you just nuke your YouTube channel.
Right.
So I think it would be better if different people handled that, but that's about it. All right. So this is the end of Sasquatch Shills. I'm not going off of live. I'm going to bring you up to the big screen, tell everybody where to find you, how to get to your live streams, whatever that is. I meant to have it on. Your channel is linked, and all of your links are on your channel, right?
Yep.
Okay. All the links are also in the description of this live stream and will be in the description of the Sasquatch Shills episode when I upload it. Right. And that's what you'll get a copy of, is the Sasquatch Shills episode.
Okay.
After I do the play out and everything, I'm going to reach over here and turn off everybody else's live streams, and only mine's going to run the questionable material I have from here, because I don't want to damage nobody else's channel. Right.
Yeah.
So anyone in other live streams really need to come find mine in the next few minutes, or you're going to be left out in the cold. But, all right, tell everybody what it is and how it do it jiggle.
So Tacos and Jihad, you can find us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. We're at Tacos and Jihad. We have a thriving community, 2 different channels on Telegram. Those links you can find on our Rumble channel, and I think it's in below here as well. Again, the YouTube's not really where we do the core of our work. We plan to be doing man on the street. We've attended rallies and protests. There's tons of stuff out there, tons of content on Rumble for you guys to peruse. Facebook, Instagram. We have a thriving community on Instagram also. We probably have the most people on Instagram, which is really weird actually, because of the stuff we post. But check it out. Come talk to us. We're all pretty active there on the channels on Telegram. We'd love to have you. Check out our content. Follow.
Magnificent, dude. You have been one hell of a guest. Out of the 200 and some odd folks I've had come through, I've had maybe 3 actually prepared to do that.
I enjoy it, man. I've enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Carrie, you missed the whole thing, bro. I did that thing you asked me to do. He's right here, and you're just not even just so late and gay. What can I say?
All right, I'm gonna drop you backstage. I'll bring you back up in about 3 minutes. All right, bud.
Sounds good.
Much love. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everybody coming around for this here Sasquatch Shills. It's the kind of thing I try to do at least once a week. I'll do it 3 times a week if I've got enough guests. The only requirement I have for you to be a guest on Sasquatch Shills is don't be an asshole, preferably. Although I'm very forgivable on the whole First Amendment thing. I'm an absolutist. 2, have content on YouTube of any description, 3 or 4, 10 videos, something like that, and a handful of subscribers. Most people who have channels like Tacos and Jihad are doing exactly what Tacos and Jihad's doing. They're actually on other platforms. And while I don't specialize on Rumble or TikTok or Instagram, I'm a YouTube specialist. These people are part of the community. They do affect the algorithm, and it's worthwhile to take a look at these channels, mainly because you can go check them out over there. But all the links are in the description. I appreciate y'all coming by, and we'll be back with this in just a few minutes.
Sorry. Good news, though. We're going to have to move the party somewhere a little bit more private, but you're all invited. Lorenzo will give you the details. Yeah!
Hey, she was a cutie in a sundress.